So the plan right now is also to get some nice shots with the kit lens and not just talk about it. Okay, so you clicked on this video because chances are you got your new camera and it came with the standard kit lens that every brand offers. It's something like 17 to 50 and you are not actually getting the results that you were hoping, and everyone tells you that you need to upgrade, your kit lens sucks and stuff like that. And a few months back I would probably tell you the same thing, that the kit lens is holding you back and you need to get a prime lens or a faster zoom in order to get the results that you want. But my opinion changed the last few months because I got this Nikon ZFC that is filming me, and as of right now in the Nikon crop system we don't have a fast zoom that can actually exchange the kit lens that I got with my body. And so basically I'm forced to keep using the kit lens and learn how to actually make the most out of it. So after doing photography for about 4 years, this is the first time that I'm stuck with a kit lens other than my prime lenses, and I can happily say that most of my pictures the last few months were actually taken with my kit lens. With my previous camera I was spoiled by using all these fast zooms, these 70 to 50 f2.8, these 35 1.8, these 85mm 1.8s and stuff like that, that I was completely ignoring my kit lens. Actually, if I'm honest, I sold my kit lens from my previous camera, and here I am after 4 years. The kit lens on this Nikon ZFC is my most used lens these last few months. And to be completely honest, the key in order to get the most out of your kit lens is understand what its strengths are and understand what its weaknesses are so you can avoid them. So in this video we're going to break down in which situations you can use your kit lens and have amazing results, and in which situations this kit lens is absolutely garbage. So like I said earlier, in order to get the most out of our kit lens, we need to understand when to use it. And the best types of photography that I can think of in order to use our kit lens are basically landscape photography, street photography, cityscape photography, and also travel photography. And we can do all of these things because we have a really useful zoom range. The 16 to 50 or the 17 to 55 and stuff like that gives us a nice wide field of view and also a slightly more telephoto-ish reach. That way we can get some nice establishing shots, and we can also get closer in order to get our hero shots or our close-up shots and stuff like that. So now that we narrowed down the types of photography that we can do with this lens, we need to understand how to use it. And this basically comes down with practice and your eye. Basically you need to find out and practice your compositions, the way you follow the light, the way you use your light in your favor, and this comes all down to practice. So let's say if you're doing street photography, it's better for you to find those contrasty areas where we have some shadows and some highlights separating the scene. And the same thing kinda applies also to your landscape photography. Basically you need to chase the light in order to get the most out of your landscapes, and you also need to work on your framing in order to get the best picture possible. These photography types are the best for our kit lens because the limitations of our lens doesn't affect our shooting. For example, let's say you're out there and shooting landscapes, you really don't care about the aperture limitations that our kit lens has. You are mostly going out and shoot at around f8, f11, f5.6 anyways, because you want most of the time everything in focus and nice and sharp. And you can also shoot all this type of photography during the daytime and the sunset, so you don't really have to bump up your ISO anyways. Also stick till the end because at the end of the video I will make a slideshow with my favorite shots that I got with this kit lens over here during the last few months, so maybe you can get an idea or simply look at the capabilities that each kit lens has. Alright, we got a pretty nice view over here. Nice. So back to the point of the video, what I want to discuss with you guys now is basically on when not to use our kit lens. And when we understand on what situations we basically cannot use our kit lens. Okay, somebody's coming by. Καλησπέρα.
Τι είναι αυτό?
Μιλάω για φωτογραφία. Μιλάω για φωτογραφία.
Α, τώρα εντάξει. Να με συμπαθά, δεν μου το έπαιζα από πίσω, ρε.
Σιγά το πράγμα. So when we start to understand on what situations we are basically not so well off with our kit lens, then we can also start to think about what lenses we need except our kit lenses for these type of situations. And the best situation on when not to use our kit lens is basically for portraits. And I'm saying that because our kit lens can basically not create beautiful background blur, this nice bokeh that everyone's talking about, and that's why I invested on an 85mm, because with that prime lens I get this nice compression between my subject and the background. This kit lens over here sadly cannot produce nice bokeh. Your best chance for producing background blur is basically to zoom all in to your 50-55mm range and get as close as possible to your target and have the background as far away as possible as well. But if you want to take portraiture to the next level, I highly suggest to invest on a prime lens. Maybe a 50mm, maybe an 85mm, but something other than your kit lens. And for beginners, this happens because our kit lens has a really dark maximum aperture. At 50mm, most of the time we're getting 5.6, 6.3 f or something like that. And basically the faster, the smaller your f-stop is, the more background blur you will actually get. So that's why portrait photographers shoot with prime lenses at f1.8, f1.4, f1.2, and sadly with your kit lens you get something like f5.6. So yeah, the difference is huge on this part of photography. And since we're speaking about the dark aperture of our lens, basically you get the idea of what the next negative is going to be about this lens and when to avoid using our kit lens. And of course I'm talking about the nighttime photography. Sadly our kit lens, like I said before, has a really dark aperture, which means it lets a tiny amount of light inside our sensor. So this means that we have to bump up our ISO a lot, and this also means that we get a lot of grain in our pictures and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean that it's all terrible. If all you got is your kit lens, that doesn't mean that you have to get discouraged and not go out during nighttime and try out your luck. But you will need a lot of practice and understand how to shape the light in your favor. First and foremost, the best that you can do during nighttime photography with your kit lens is to get a tripod. So that way you can stabilize your camera on your tripod and use a slow shutter speed, like 1 second, half of a second, 2 seconds. It doesn't matter what exactly your shutter speed is going to be, but that way you can lower your ISO and not have it at extreme situations like 2000, 3000, 6000 and stuff like that. For example, 2 weeks ago I made a video during nighttime where I'm using my kit lens over here and I'm able to lower my ISO at 100, which is the minimum, and get some beautiful clean nighttime shots even with my kit lens. So you're obviously wondering, what if I don't want to carry around a tripod with me? So in this situation, if you don't want to carry around a tripod with you all the time, the best you can do is shoot at your wider end with your kit lens where your aperture is the most wide open, so you can let in a lot of light to your sensor. In my case it's 3.5 at 16mm. Most kit lenses are also at 3.5 at their widest length. Obviously we will have to raise our ISO because 3.5 is nowhere close with 1.8 or 1.4 that you can get with most prime lenses, or f2.8 that you can get with other fast zoom lenses, but it's not all that terrible. If you can find a nice light source during nighttime, you can get some nice, beautiful nighttime shots even with your kit lens without any tripod. I made a POV about it. You will see on that video that I'm using the kit lens without any tripod during nighttime in London, and we get away with a nice collection of pictures with just knowing what to do and how to use our kit lens and shaping the light in our favor. Anyways, I want to get to the peak of this hill before the sunset, so let's continue on and talk about the kit lens a little bit higher. So I really like this road down there, so this is where I'm going to film the next part of the video. So a few clips back I mentioned a few types of photography where our kit lens really shines, and since then I talked about landscape photography and street photography. So what I want to address now are basically the cityscape photography and the travel photography part that I told you guys about earlier. First and foremost, let's talk about cityscape photography. So about cityscape photography, our kit lens is basically almost perfect. Thankfully we got this wide angle that can create these nice abstract images of buildings, and we can also zoom in a little bit in order to get the details of all these buildings and create these nice sets of images with all these beautiful buildings that are located in your city. Obviously sometimes we need to get a little bit wider, but all we have is a kit lens, so the 16, 17, 18 millimeter is most of the time enough to get these nice pictures that I'm talking about. And last but not least, about travel photography. Basically, this is a really mixed topic because travel photography is not a specific type of photography. It can include street photography, it can include landscape photography, but most of the time it includes people in your frame. So let's say, for example, you have this shot of this road. Right here, you place someone or something or a group of people inside your landscape over here, and you got yourself a nice travel photo. At least that's my understanding of this category of photography. And the same thing goes also for street moments. You have this nice street in front of you or this nice building, and you place a person inside your frame, and that's how you create these nice travel shots. Again, this is my understanding of this type of photography, but what I'm also understanding about travel photography is that we need to travel. And thankfully, all of the kit lenses that I have used and I have seen are basically small, lightweight, inexpensive. So this makes our lives really, really easy. There's not a better feeling than hiking this hill over here and not having to take with me huge lenses, huge prime lenses, huge zoom lenses and stuff like that. All I have with me is this small, plastic, really lightweight kit lens, and I don't have to carry much more weight with me. So at least in my eyes and in my opinion, having the ability to leave all these huge lenses home and take a smaller package with me is something really worth mentioning, and it's a huge plus for me. So before the sun sets, let me give you a few more tips about how to use your kit lens and get the most out of it. Most of the time when you're shooting during daytime, you can close up your aperture and use an aperture of around f8 or f11 or something in between, and in that way you can get the sharpest image possible, because most lenses at around f8 can produce their maximum sharpness, and also that way you can get everything in focus from the foreground to the background. This is really helpful, especially for landscape photography and cityscape photography, when you're usually looking at the whole scene and you want everything nice and sharp and nice and in focus. Also, most kit lenses have VR or image stabilization on them, so make sure to use that in order to help you out, especially in darker situations where you have to use slower shutter speeds and bump up your ISO. And since we're talking about low light situations, again, make sure to use a tripod with your kit lens during nighttime, or shoot on the widest length where your aperture is the widest open possible, and don't be afraid to bump up your ISO just a tiny bit, because even though we are getting a grainier image when we are using our kit lens during nighttime in comparison with a prime lens, it's better to have an image, even if it's grainy and not the best quality, than not having an image at all. Alright, you can basically see the beautiful sunset that we have down there. Holy shit. It's been a long time since I climbed to the peak of this hill. I should do this more often. So the plan right now is also to get some nice shots with the kit lens and not just talk about it. So let me quickly set up the frame, and yeah, you will see some beautiful pictures, hopefully, of the sunset over here. Alright, the sunset is gone right now. Sadly, we had a lot of clouds exactly where the sun was setting, but what can you do? It's quite alright. I wanted to stay for the blue hour, but I forgot my flashlight and I don't want to spend the night here when it's dark enough for me to basically die. So this is where I'm going to end the video because I need to get down as quickly as possible. Alright, the battery of my camera basically died, and I will continue on the outro from this GoPro over here. Anyways, like I said, learn how to use your kit lens, learn when not to use your kit lens. Don't just throw it away because everyone says you need to upgrade, you need to do this, you need to do that. Don't be like me, who basically sold his kit lens without even knowing what he was doing. 4 years later, basically I'm stuck with this lens because there's nothing else to really upgrade right now on the Nikon Z system, but that's quite alright. I have learned how to use it, I have learned when not to use it, and to be honest, the images speak for themselves. So don't leave just yet, enjoy the slideshow of my favorite images that I have taken with the kit lens during the last few months. And also, if you're new here, consider subscribing. It's literally free. If you don't like my face, you can unsubscribe later. And yeah, maybe even like this video if you found it helpful. If you hated it, dislike it. It's fine. What can you do? I can live with that. And yeah, that's all I have to say for you guys today. Thank you so much for being my company and spending some of your time by watching my videos. This really means the world to me, and see you next time. Take care. Peace.